Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich here. Let's do an update on the weather for Tuesday. I'm both excited for rain, but also a little worried this is going to have an impact on travel and maybe even a small severe weather risk. Though the severe weather risk is really small. I should emphasize that completely. So you see our system, a pretty potent system. Low pressure is actually right here, but this is what we're watching, this big area of storms and heavy rain. There's actually a boundary right in here. So tonight we're seeing east and northeast winds. At the same time, warm, humid air is trying to come up from the south, and that's going to set the stage for some rainfall moving in overnight. In fact, we should start to see some sprinkles develop. We're already seeing some hints of that out there right now as we go into the overnight hours. Let me show you the severe weather outlook. So obviously tonight you see the risk down there over Mississippi, Louisiana, into Alabama. But then tomorrow, most of the Carolinas kind of in that yellow area, but it's all going to be conditional, which means basically we're going to have to see if this warm front, which will be in here, starts to move north. And if you want to see what the warm front looks like, let's look at the high temperatures tomorrow, because I think this map really shows you what's going on, because it is kind of a wild setup tomorrow. When you see this, you see how the boundary is somewhere in here, okay? And it's trying to push in. So we've got warm, unstable air here, but we're wedged in with cooler temperatures. And again, it could be one of those things where we spend most of the day probably in the 50s, and then maybe by afternoon we start to see us kind of bump out there. But I have 80% chance of rain tomorrow, so it kind of shows you just how potent this system is. Let's look at that severe weather impacts. I do think our main impact is going to be straight line winds. There is a low end, and I'll emphasize low end tornado risk, about 1% probability, but that would be extremely isolated. The wind energy in this thing is pretty much off the chart. So let's get right to the Futurecast. We'll show you the future radar, then we'll go back and look at some of the parameters. So overnight tonight, I'm going to stop this at like 3 in the morning, right there. So we're starting to see some of the first batches of rain, so you're probably going to hear that overnight. Closer to sunrise, 6, 7 a.m., we should have a pretty good cluster of showers over us. The setup here is that with that wedge in place, you see the winds coming out of the east. At the same time, warm, humid air is trying to ride up and over it. So where the cold air is, actually, we should enhance the rainfall. This is actually a good setup for rain in the areas that need it, the foothills, eastern-facing slopes, and the mountains. By 7 to 8 a.m., we start to see some pockets of heavy rain moving in, and that's glorious. We have not seen anything like this since August. This is widespread rain through the middle of the day. Now, this widespread rain, not only is it great, but it stabilizes the atmosphere. Now, if the warm front moves through, and what I'm watching here is we're going to stop this around 3 o'clock. If you look carefully, you see our streamlines, which are the winds. They're starting to come out of the south here. Up in here, though, it looks like they're still out of the northeast or east, which is wedged in. So down here, we're starting to get some instability or cape or thunderstorm fuel. And here comes the cold front from the west. So by 5, 6 o'clock, the cold front starts entering the mountains. Notice the winds have all shifted to the south here. And that's a sign that there's some kind of boundary set up right there. And this is where we could see the enhancement of some thunderstorms. So 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So right there, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that line moves through. That could be a pretty potent line with some heavy rain. And then by 10 or 11, the worst of it starts to move out. And then overnight into Wednesday morning, we see all the moisture kind of begin to push out. But there could be a secondary surge of drizzle or mist as we get wedged back in briefly here on Wednesday. You see some of the rain redeveloping there. That would be incredibly light. And it's cold enough on the backside, if you look carefully, maybe a little bit of wintry weather up in the North Carolina mountains. So I told you I'd talk a little bit about some of the parameters. The first thing, let's look at that thunderstorm fuel. Basically, this is the fuel for thunderstorms. It's warm, humid air at the surface. We'll go into tomorrow morning. You don't see any at all until right about here. You see some of it trying to sneak north. So right there. Now that's not off the charts. We call this a high shear, low cape setup. And what we mean by that is high shear means there's tons of wind energy, but there isn't a lot of this fuel for the storm. So you can see not a lot there, but it might not take much because of how much wind shear there is. And one way we can look at wind shear is the tornado parameters. The tornado parameters show you the winds changing direction with height or wind shear. Again, it's not much. I mean, that's why overall the severe weather risk is pretty small. Last but not least, we can look at rotation tracks, which indicate if there's rotation in the storm, not necessarily tornadoes, but rotation, and you can look, not a lot there. So that's encouraging. That's a good sign that we're not going to see widespread severe rainfall. This is the good part. I know it's a travel day, but here comes the rain. Starts piling up. Tomorrow that rain moves in. Oh, look at this. We'll go all the way into Wednesday, even Wednesday evening, a few sprinkles there through 10 o'clock. So if we get that, that would be amazing. We would see some absolutely amazing totals, 1 to 3 inches across the area. So here's a quick look at the hour by hour forecast tomorrow. Again, just to recap, going into the overnight hours and early tomorrow, you see how the rain really ramps up after the morning hours. That would set the stage for some pretty heavy rain. I'm gonna move my head over here. So good news all in all, rain is on the way. Some of the winds will be strong too. Could see gusts to 40 miles per hour. So even outside of severe, wind will be a big story. If you're traveling tomorrow, just take your time and give yourself plenty of patience and just some grace, because there's going to be delays. Wet roads, wet leaves on the roads, low visibility, high winds, everything that would impact road travel and air travel. So just expect there will likely be delays on top of all the usual holiday backups, which are just going to cause issues. Of course, I'll have updates tonight at 11. I'll post a vlog first thing tomorrow morning to keep you up to date on the weather moving in. Have a great night.